Sailing here on 91.3 Sport FM. Wherever you are this afternoon, we hope that you're safe, well and also having fun. Tony Pugh is your co-host this afternoon. Among many other things, Tony teaches adults to sail and also umpires at regattas. Great to see you again, Tony.
And good to see you, Ed. Good to be here. It's nice to be out of that bloody weather, I must say. It's beautiful in the studio today.
Listeners, not every country gets to qualify and sail in the Olympic Games. In the 10 disciplines in Paris, Australia qualified to sail in 8 of them. Western Australian sailor Matt Wearn won a gold medal in the men's dinghy class, and we're pleased to tell you that he's here in the studios this afternoon with us after getting back from Paris. Welcome to Let's Go Sailing, Matt.
Thanks for having me on.
Matt, before we get into it, we'd like to pass on to you from our presenters and all the listeners congratulations for a gold medal. And not only did you get a gold medal in Paris in the men's dinghy class, but it's a second consecutive gold medal. You won one in Tokyo as well. So how did you do it?
Yeah, that's the secret, I guess. No,
Simple question.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the dominance that Australia has had in the laser and now the Ilka class for the last 4 years, and just been lucky to be a part of that. Sort of a byproduct of that success and the effort that Michael Blackburn put in through the years, and just sort of reaping the rewards for that now, and just being able to go to the Olympics and represent Australia and bring home now 2 gold medals is pretty special.
Yeah, but that's only a little bit of it. Hey, let's dive into it. Let's dive into it a bit more, listeners. Matt, listening to some of your interviews and following your progress and hearing what you say, you've been saying that you found the Paris Olympic Games a little harder than Tokyo. Can you expand on that for us so that we can understand from a sporting sense what you mean by all of that?
Yeah, I think in Tokyo there was different pressure in Tokyo. I think leading into that there was obviously a really close selection with Tom Burton, and that sort of brought its own pressure and things like that. So that kind of took away from the actual game side of things. And then obviously with the pandemic and things, there wasn't any outside sort of pressure from spectators, and just sort of atmosphere in that sense as well. Whereas Paris, I guess there was. Yeah, people knew what form I was in this time. Obviously having won the last 2 worlds as well, that target was probably even bigger than it was in Tokyo on my back, and that brings other things as well. But then just the expectation that that I'm going to go to regattas and events and bring home world championships and gold medals now, I think just added that little bit of extra pressure and sort of that performance anxiety, I guess, going into the event.
Yeah, so a harder regatta for you with all of that going on. We might expand on that a little bit later. But Matt Wearn's with us, listeners, if you've just joined us. He's the gold medalist in the men's dinghy class in the Paris Olympic Games, and he's here in the studio this afternoon. Matt, where did you sit on the plane? You were talking about coming back. Whereabouts did you actually sit on the plane, and who did you sit next to on the way back to Australia?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky to be at the pointy end of the charter flight back from Paris. So that was pretty nice. Being up in business class makes a nice change. But it was pretty good to have, I guess, a couple of the swimmers with Kaylee beside me, and then Jess Fox in front of me as well. So pretty cool experience to be on a plane of gold medalists and medalists in general, and just athletes as well. It was just I think everyone sort of caught up on some sleep, but it was quite a nice environment.
So is that the go, Matty, that if you get a gold medal you get into business class, is it? And the rest of them sit down the back there and suffer?
Yeah, I think that's naturally how they do it. Sort of try to reward, I guess, in some sense, the people that have brought home medals. But it's a nice little perk.
We figured you must have been sitting up the front of the plane somewhere. We noticed you were the first one off, so that was pretty cool too.
I've heard the Dockers have got some sort of pecking order for their players as well on the plane, so there's something about sport and all of that. But hey, Matt, what was it like? You go to lots of regattas, World Championships, you mentioned 2 of those in recent times and won them, and you've been to many regattas over your career. And most of the time you're on your own, and you may have a trainer, or you might have a weatherman, or you might have a coach or something with you, but a small group. What was the Olympic Games experience like in being in a wider team sort of thing?
Yeah, I think even just the sailing side specifically, that all of a sudden you've got more staff than athletes at the event, which is obviously new for us. That, yeah, like you say, we're used to having maybe a coach on the water, and then you might be lucky to have a physio with you on the ground as well. But at the games that quadruples, and you've got all sorts of management hanging around and doing what they need to do, and then obviously the broader thing where there's another 460 athletes that are a part of the greater team, and although we're down in Marseille, you sort of still feel like you're part of that, and there's just everything that comes with it. You sort of all the kit you got to wear, and everything you got to do on a day-to-day basis that you just don't have to do normally. Obviously security being one of them, and then just all the little boxes you need to tick to talk to media and the likes like that as well. Did you find that a pleasurable experience? It's pleasurable is probably not the right way to describe it. I think it's definitely intense. It's an intense environment to be in. Obviously, you're so focused on the result and the competition side of things that you try to, I guess, block a lot of that out as much as you possibly can. But I think it's just the amount of stuff that's not within your control in that sort of environment that. I guess the organisers change things on a daily basis. The security changes on a daily basis. Just stuff you're not used to that sort of gets thrown at you every day that just adds a little bit more stress. It takes a bit more time to get into the boat park. It takes a bit more time to walk from one place to the other. And, it's just things that you're not used to doing, really. That's probably the biggest thing. I've always thought, Tony, the best part of sailing is actually the boat park, Yeah. I mean, there's more going on in there than there is actually on the course. It's always over the hill and miles away. But the boat park, I reckon, would be pretty fun. Lots of people to meet, lots of people to talk to. And I think they should put like a stand up so that people can watch the boat park.
Who's talking to who and what they're saying?
It was actually quite good in Marseille that where the spectators were allowed to go into, there was a bit of sort of a grassy knoll there, and they could get a bit of a sneak peek into what the boat park looked like, but they weren't missing out on anything. It wasn't very special. Matt, it's a long campaign, 4 years, Cripes building up to something, and then it's over in a flash, a twinkle of an eye. How's your body? Any injuries? No, I'm doing pretty good from that side of things. Probably like most athletes that finish up at the Olympics that got pretty crook for a couple of days. Your body's so run down and sort of
that let off.
You're trying to peak for sort of trying to get there for 2 months beforehand, and then you're sort of at the absolute limit, and then obviously you finish one of the hardest weeks of sailing you ever do, and the body stops and goes, beauty, now it's time to get sick. So
You were talking earlier on too, before we started the broadcast today, and we were chatting about the compression of 3 years rather than 4, which was really interesting, because I would have thought that for the average punter around the place, 3's a bloody long time. But you also mentioned that at the end of it, I'm talking about your mental and physical and perhaps spiritual state too at the end of this, that you're still partly in a decompressing sort of mode. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Obviously, still going through that at the moment. Sort of like I just alluded to, that everything's so focused on the games for so long that you sort of need this time to decompress. Is probably the best way to describe it. Obviously the pressure and the strain that it puts on you mentally and physically, and you just need time off. It's a bit like anything.
You're still in the circus though. You're still doing the rounds of yacht clubs and all that kind of stuff. So you're still a bit in it.
I probably still haven't been able to completely sort of unwind, I guess. That'll probably be for a few weeks' time. I'm going to go on a bit of a holiday and do that properly.
Beauty.
But now it's just obviously doing the media thing and doing the rounds and seeing everyone. And I haven't been in Perth since February, so it's just all those sorts of things as well. Go see family and friends and
catch up with the old crowd. Is Emma with you, Matt?
No, she stayed in Europe this time. Similar thing. She's got to do her thing over there, and we're gonna meet up in about a month's time for a holiday, which will be really nice. I'm actually going to go to the US.
Cool.
It's been on our bucket list for a while, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy that.
So, Matt, you brought in the gold medal, and we're very fortunate to have seen it today. What do you do with the medal? Where does it live? And where's it been living?
I've still got it, Ed.
Where's it proposed to live, and what will happen to it?
It's a pretty good question. I think I'm still sort of unsure where it is going to live. Obviously, I've got options as far as where in the world it is. But the Tokyo medal's been safely kept at my parents' place. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll just live there with the other one for a little while, and then maybe once Emma and I settle down somewhere in the next sort of 12 months, and maybe we can move it into our own place and start to build a house around it.
One of our listeners asked me to ask Matt, what happened to the Australian flag that you carried as the flag bearer for Australia at the closing ceremony? Do you have to give it back? Is it a flag that is an ongoing flag for every Olympics, or where's that living now?
Did you pinch it?
Yeah, did you say?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately not. They're very strict, I guess, in the sense of we're only given it just before we were walking out, and then that was taken off us pretty quickly once all the formalities of the flag bearer was done.
Sad.
So unfortunately, there's none of that. But we had plenty to go around anyway.
Hey, Matt, you spend so much time over this period of time with your coaches like Rafa and Michael and your coaches at large. And on a lot of the circuit, you spend a lot of time with the other sailors who you meet at the World Championships, and then you meet them in the Olympic Games. Are you in touch with them after the Olympic Games, or do you just close them out and you just don't talk to them for a while? Or since the Olympic Games, you're in touch with your coaches first and then the other sailors, your mates, I suppose?
Yeah, I guess naturally there's still a debrief process to do, like there is for us after any event, what can be done better and the likes like that, and what we did well going forward from both a class point of view and then just a broader team point of view. We have been in touch. Obviously, it's been a couple of weeks now since we finished racing, and Rafa headed home pretty quick, and we're both just having that time apart. Obviously, we've been spending a lot of time together the last, especially 6 months. So, so just sort of letting each of us do that. But we'll sort of go through that process in the next week or so. But then, I guess other athletes and other team members and stuff. Everyone's just sort of doing their own thing at the moment. I imagine we'll all get back together at some point, but. There's a few of us that keep in touch, and they're sort of having a few chats back and forth about holiday plans and that sort of stuff. But most of the time I think everyone's pretty happy just to live their lives outside of sailing for a little while, and sort of forget about teammates and I guess competitors at that point.
It seems to us as observers that you spend a lot of time on the water close to Pavlos Kontadidis, the Cypriot. So is he like an on-the-water competitor, off-the-water friend, or is it like war at all levels? How does it work?
Yeah, we've had a pretty strong, I guess, rivalry with Pavlos, and not just myself, but the 2 times prior to me and as well. And I think that's just natural when you got athletes that are at the top of their sport for as long as they are. But Pavlos and I get along well. There's that, I guess competitive friendship there with the fact that when we're on the water we go pretty hard at each other, but then once we're off the water there's that camaraderie and that friendship there, and we both talk quite a lot off the water as well. So it is that side of it, but everything's quite professional, and everyone sort of at the top of the fleet gets along pretty well.
Do you talk much, as you say, a conversation? That's great, and it's great you're professional and so on like that, but do you talk much about the sailing? Or is that some competitive advantage that you try to retain?
Yeah, there's a lot of games that are played. There's a lot of mental games that are played. Like I think like leading into the medal race that you obviously don't want people to know what your game plan is, and there are a few people just ask a few questions here and there, and
so you chuck them a red herring.
Yeah, exactly. You used to sort of try and throw them a little bit, but everyone's reasonably quiet when it leads into the racing. That's for sure.
Matt Wearn's with us, listeners, the gold medalist in the men's dinghy class at the Paris Olympics. If you've just joined us, and we're delighted to have him in the studio with his gold medal in 91.3 Sport FM. Matt, you've talked about de-stressing after the games, and that's a little difficult. Sailing, maybe getting away from it for a little bit. It's pretty hard in your family. Your family's full of sailors. Tell us about your family.
Yeah, exactly. Both my parents are still sailing at a club level, obviously, in the keel boats at Royal Perth, and they tried to get me along to Wednesday afternoon yesterday to go for a sail, but it would take a little bit more convincing to get me out in the water at this point. But my sister's she works for Australian Sailing WA, so she obviously heavily involved in sailing. Brother's a little bit more sort of disconnected from the sailing world, but still likes to get out there when he can. And so yeah, we're definitely a big sailing family, and I guess we'll always be involved in sailing, or down at the club at Royal Perth as well. So
and your sister's partner Travis Burtonshaw, the boating operations manager. It's hard to get away from that big bloke as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You've got them all around you. The Emma that Matt's talking about is Emma Blashard. She's a Belgian athlete and also sailed in the Paris Olympic Games, and I think she had a 4th place. Is that right, Matt? Something like that.
4th in Tokyo, 7th in Paris.
7th in Paris. Yeah. So another great performance, and no doubt she's there and thereabouts. Matt, you talked about going to America for a break. I guess the question that we'd like to ask you is, will you spend any time going to a Sail GP event while you're in America? In season 5 for Sail GP? Because our listeners know Sail GP, so it's an important question to know.
I would love to. I haven't had any offers at the moment, but I think obviously at the moment, obviously the America's Cup as well is one thing that's on my priority list to get to a bit later this year. But I think we're sort of trying to hang around that crowd at the Sail GP and see if there's any doors that are opening and things like that as well. But it's obviously just a great spectacle to go watch too. That any chance I can get to go watch some of the Sail GP, I'll take it.
Now on that, Matt, I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people have been asking us since we know you. Have you had any invitations to date, and you don't need to specify who they are, any expressions of interest from people around the place, be it the TP52s or coaching circles? Perhaps like a previous Australian gold medalist in the yachting got an invitation from the USA to go and coach the team there, for example. Have you had any expressions of interest from anyone, firstly?
Yeah, there's been a little bit. Obviously, the Ultra Worlds are in Melbourne.
Yep.
Yeah, beginning of next year. So that's the main one. I'd sort of already locked in to do some stuff with John Bertrand there.
Yep.
But yeah, obviously a few more people interested since the games to get me on board too. So there's a little bit there. But then got a little bit of stuff that hopefully will pan out for next year. Most of the season's starting to quieten off a little bit.
So you've got some options there. That's great. What's your general sort of thinking? Are you thinking of staying in sailing, professionally sailing, next Olympics? Are you getting into coaching? What's your kind of general feel for things at the moment?
Yeah, first and foremost, the professional side of the sailing and the bigger boats, your 52 series and your one design racing, I guess.
Good call.
Yeah, is probably where I'll probably hopefully land and pursue that side a little bit more, especially the next 12 months. But yeah, sort of part of this process the next 6 months is to figure out whether that drive and that hunger is there to go for LA. Obviously, the whole idea of doing it 3 times in a row is pretty cool, and that number seems to be thrown out there a lot lately.
It does, doesn't it? And that's magic number 3, isn't it? You haven't made a decision on that yet?
No.
Matt Wearn's standing down, Tony, at the moment. He's having time off. He's made that quite clear. He's having a bit of time in America. He's spending some time with his family and he's having time off.
I haven't finished pushing, though.
But I'll just remind young Matt Wearn that over 10 years ago, when he was our first ever guest on Let's Go Sailing, he told us then that he was going to win an Olympic Games gold medal. And I think he said it would be in Rio, but he's made 2. He's got 2 instead of 1. So he's obviously a man that has some vision. I think we'll give him some time and some space, let him work that all out, and we certainly get back to Matt Wearn at subsequent stage and find all that information about where he's planning to go. But we better take a word from our very important sponsors, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, listeners, to Let's Go Sailing here on 91.3 Sport FM. Earlier on this broadcast, we asked Matt Wearn, how did he do it? He gave us a very brief answer. So let's cut straight to the day of the medal race, Matt. It took a bit of time to get to it, but tell us how you sort of got through the 3 races, just one at a time, a little bit about how it was for you on that race course.
Yeah, I guess the pressure, and I guess I was in a pretty good position. That's first and foremost. So obviously a 14-point lead, and only 18 points available in the medal race. Was a pretty comfy position and couldn't lose second, so that was pretty comfy. But the plan was to go and attack Pavlos from day one. To basically try and control the race, and that first start felt like we'd got in good control, and I'd done a really good job of making sure that Pavlos was laid, and then we had that general recall that happened almost 2 minutes, I think it was, after the start, which in a 10-boat fleet, I think
Damn.
Yeah. Don't know how to describe that one, but
I do.
Yeah, there's a little bit of frustration with that. But then, I understood and Rafa understood that we needed to go do the job again. So after a short little delay, we got underway for the second time, and basically just did the same thing. Put some pressure on Pavlos again, and got himself in a position where he made contact with the British Mickey Beckett and had to do a penalty with about 20 seconds to go, and that made my job very easy. And it was just shadowing him for the entirety of that race. And then, they banded it with about one leg to go. So, and another thing that never ever happens, especially with broadcasting and whatnot, to cancel a race when you're 2/3 of the way through. And the medals were going to stay the same as well. So, but that was obviously a really tough moment. Hot as well, and blood pressure's up and all that sort of stuff. So a bit of emotion came out with that one. But then, quickly realised that, again, got to go try, hopefully do it for a third time. And luckily we got a bit more breeze, and we could squeeze that last race in. And it was the same thing, just had to control Pavlos off the start, and then try to stick with him. And we both ended up first and second in the race, which is just classic for this sort of scenario, that you're trying to match race someone and you're match racing them to the right direction. So, just an experience to do it 3 times, that's for sure.
I ran across a list the other day of you doing some match racing with your friend Tristan Brown in 2013 in the Warren Jones International Youth Racing Regatta. There was you, Tristan, Mark Spearman and Luke Elliott, all famous names in sailing. So you've done some match racing before. You should have been ready and right up to it.
Yeah, done a few years of Warren Jones campaign with Tristan, which was great, and obviously sort of built that base from the match racing point of view as well. That having that experience is really helpful.
And the Ron Tuff in the famous S80s, of course, that we were all dreading when you came on board and got one of those, and we thought he's going to have a gun crew with him, and you jumped on with your family and still whooped us. So you know a bit about match racing.
He knows how to match race. If you come from Fremantle, you know how to do some match racing, and you know where's some breeze. There's some breeze here. But hey, Matt, just before we move to the celebrations, the boats, when the boats are finished, because, listeners, these boats are issued so they're equal and drawn, so it's equal for all the sailors. Do you take bits off it of your own? Like, is there bits that you don't, that are not from the organisation, that you bring back? And did you bring any bits of the boat back for a souvenir?
Yeah, so we're allowed to bring all our ropes, our tillers, and that's about it, really. So we can use all the systems that we're used to using, which is really good. But the boat was handed back, and I went straight into media. So the honest answer is I have no idea where all my stuff is, and it could just be in a container on its way back to Australia, but it could also just be sitting in a corner somewhere in Marseille.
So don't know where it is.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that I guess you don't really worry too much about it. If I say goodbye to a few blocks and ropes, then I'm not too unhappy.
Small price to pay, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's a little bit sad, but somebody's going to be the beneficiary of it, and they've got a nice souvenir. So the clothing, Matt, you work very closely, athletes from Australia, with clothing manufacturers, and there's always developments in that. How were you satisfied with the clothing? Yeah,
obviously Zyke being a supplier for the team this year was fantastic, and they've been a supporter of the Australian sailing team for many years now, and we were able to work really closely with them. Obviously warm conditions in Marseille too, to optimise our gear to be as cool as possible on the water, which was fantastic. And I think obviously it just goes a long way to be comfortable on the water as well. And I think you might not think about it for sort of the first half hour, but once you're spending sort of 3, 4, 5 hours on the water in the same kit, it can make a pretty big difference. So Zyke was amazing to supply us with enough gear as well that we didn't have to use stuff on a daily basis, that we could sort of rotate through a selection of gear as well to keep it fresh and clean too, which was really good from that side of things. So it was Zyke did a great job for us, and it was much appreciated.
And your coach is a Spanish sailor, famous for fins. Tell us a little bit about your association. How did that come about? Why have we got a Spanish coach? And did you guys hook up, or was it hooked up for you? How did that unfold? What's the story behind that? Yeah, so Blackers, Michael Blackburn, he decided he was going to move on from the coaching side of things after Tokyo. So then I guess straight after that we went through a process of listing the people in the world really that we'd want as a coach, and
Rafa was at the top of that list, and he was someone that was already involved in the program with Australian Sailing, having coached the Finn for the 4 years leading up to Tokyo with Jake Lilly as well, and being very successful with him. And we had done a little bit of work with him. We sort of crossed over coaches at times at certain regattas and things domestically. So we'd had that experience with Rafa as a squad, and you just have to look at his sort of resume in some way as well. That being a world champion in the Finn and a silver medalist as well from Athens, that he's knows what it takes to win medals at the highest level. And he also brought, I guess, a new perspective too. Being coached by Blackers for 10 years, it was probably time for a little bit of something different. And for myself personally as well, that Rafa brought that Spanish flair and that excitement into the group, whereas Blackers was very methodical and process driven. And Rafa, I guess, a bit more lighthearted and definitely gets the job done. But potentially not as serious, which was a great way for the younger squad as well that we had for the last 3 years too.
He's obviously taught you how to sail in light weather too, Matt, maybe.
Yeah, no, it was a big point of it as well. That Rafa did the same thing for Jake leading up to Tokyo, and I guess we saw what potential he had as a coach to bring into, I guess, my sailing style, and it turns out that Rafa and I are very similar athletes out in the water, the way we sail and want to operate as well. So we sort of just clicked in some sense, which I guess worked really well with only having 3 years too. That meant that we could do that on a short time frame. But the technique that he brought to my sailing was came in very handy in Marseille.
It's a long journey, Matt, to an Olympic Games, and along the way you've been associated here in Western Australia with two great organisations, the Western Australian Institute of Sport and the Ron Tuff Foundation. Now, Ron Tuff Foundation, for listeners who listen regularly to our show, will know it's a body that gives a bit of a springboard in terms of funding to get young potential athletes out into the world scene. You had an involvement with them, and it was terrific for you at that stage of your career. Yeah,
definitely. I think, obviously you're branching from youth sailing into the senior sailing, and you have to pay for that on your own back as well, and I guess that's where the Ron Tuff Foundation came in, and was lucky enough to win the scholarship 1 year with that, and that just sort of springboarded me into the senior classes, into the laser, and I guess able to go over and do a few more regattas overseas, and so that was a big part of the journey, and always. We'll think back at those times and how that helped me sort of getting to this point. And sort of like you say, West Australian Institute of Sport as well is still a supporter, is still a scholarship holder there, and have been for probably almost
a long time.
15 years or something now. So they've been a massive part. And obviously I don't spend a lot of time in Perth anymore, but when I come back and having that base of the facilities that they've got as well is just phenomenal. So they've been two big parts of this journey, that's for sure.
And also, Matt, we've got an Olympics coming up in Australia in 2032, so sailing will be a part of that. Do you have any ideas where they may have the sailing in Queensland? Will it be in Queensland or could it be in Perth, Matt? Because we've got Breeze here. They had it in Marseille. It's not inconceivable.
I think if it was in Perth, you could sign me up right now. No, unfortunately, I don't think any decisions have been made. I think they're working pretty hard on venues, and I think there's obviously the ideal from an Olympic IOC point of view, but from a sailing point of view, there's a different ideal. So I think they're working pretty hard to get things as far north in Queensland as they possibly can to get the trade winds and whatnot. Because I think all sailors will know that the weather in Brisbane isn't fantastic in July and August. I think a lot of us have experienced that in previous regattas before.
We'll look forward to all of that. But listeners, you need to be aware about the America's Cup. Let's just very briefly update you before we finish this afternoon's broadcast. This America's Cup will be the 37 contest. The event will be played in Barcelona, and it's always one-on-one boat race. The defender of the Cup is New Zealand, and they'll be in the America's Cup match, which will occur on the 12th to the 21st 21st of October. But before then, the Challenger of Record needs to find the best of the 5 challengers. There are 5 challengers: UK, America, Italy, Sweden and France. And the best way to work that all out is to get involved and follow it and become enmeshed into the experience. For the best way to do that, go to americascup.com for information on the dates of the racing, the boats, the sailors and their backstory, the shore teams and their sponsors. And also go to Mozzie Sales or Planet Sail for detailed tech talk and analysis of the racing. And at home, I've got a big whiteboard with all this stuff on. I recommend you get engrossed in it. Otherwise, just watching a couple of boats on the water can be quite boring for you. I can't wait for the start tonight. It goes over 4 days, but the preliminary regatta that we're into now doesn't really count very much, and I doubt they'll be showing all their toys at this particular time of the America's Cup cycle. Matthew Wearn, it's been a great privilege and a pleasure to have you on 91.3 Sport FM this afternoon, and thanks for your time in this time of your life.
No, thank you. Really appreciate it.
And Tony Pugh, it's always good to have you in the studio.
Pleasure, Ed. Good to be here. Good to see Matty again. It's quite refreshing. Just to add to that Louis Vuitton preliminary series, Ed, you can watch it. Starts tonight, and the day's racing will start at 8 p.m. WA time, and you can watch it on KO, which is available via subscription. So it'll be available for you to have a look at all of that competition over the next 4 days.
And of course, we'll update you here on 91.3 Sport FM, as we always do, on all matters. And please stay listening this afternoon to Matt Arrowsmith. We'll be back again next week, but for now, let's go sailing.